It is 2022, and a group of friends heads into Spring Cave in Colorado. They are filming the trip for the Cantrell Caving YouTube channel, carrying lights and GoPros as they move deeper underground. Spring Cave is known for its underground river. Water flows through much of the system, often flooding passages and leaving only small air pockets near the ceiling. It is the kind of cave where conditions can change quickly, and where even experienced cavers have to stay cautious. For the group, this is meant to be another day of exploration, but inside, one of the flooded passages will push them into a dangerous situation. The group crawls down into Spring Cave through its narrow stone entrance. Inside, they stop to gear up, switch on their headlamps, and prepare for the flooded passage ahead. Before moving in, they check the oxygen levels in the air. Spring Cave is known for having sections with poor ventilation, and making sure there is enough oxygen is part of staying safe underground. The monitor shows normal levels, so they decide to continue. The cave entrance quickly forces them low to the ground. Ahead lies a tunnel already half filled with water. They kneel by the entrance, shining lights inside, and then slip forward one by one. At first, the conditions are difficult but manageable. The water rises to their chests, then to their shoulders, until only a thin air gap remains between the surface and the rock ceiling. Inside the narrow flooded tunnel, the group moves slowly through the thin pocket of air near the ceiling. The progress is steady until one of the cavers suddenly panics. His breathing turns rapid, loud against the rock.
Oh man.
Water in my eyes.
And he splashes forward into a rush to get out. In the tight space, he dips under the water, thrashing as he forces himself ahead. His sudden movements pull at the others behind him.
This is the waiting area.
I'm glad I didn't go in there and wait.
Are you going, Jacob? Oh, he just bailed. Stop.
Dragging them underwater for moments at a time as they struggle to stay close. The others are caught off guard. They try to keep close behind, shouting for him to slow down, while the GoPro captures the sound of water churning and voices echoing through the passage.
Oh my God! I'm coming out! Alright, we'll back it out. Just back it out, come on out.
It is a frightening moment, showing how quickly a calm crawl can turn chaotic when panic sets in. The panic continues for several seconds before the group makes a quick decision. Instead of pressing forward, they call out to the struggling caver, telling him to stop and calm down. Together, they agree to turn back the way they came. The man who panicked manages to steady his breathing and follow their lead. Step by step, they retrace their path through the flooded tunnel until they reach wider space again. All of them make it back to the entrance safely, shaken, but unharmed. The footage from that day shows how fast a routine trip can change inside a cave. What began as a careful exploration nearly ended in disaster when one moment of panic spread chaos through the group. Nobody was injured, but the recording became a clear reminder of the risks in water-filled passages. In caves like Spring Cave, keeping calm can be the difference between life and death. It's 2019, in the Nevada desert. YouTuber Connor Kelly turns on his camera as he stands at the entrance of the abandoned McCoy gold mine. He explains that he's heard stories about this place and wanted to see it for himself. He isn't alone. Beside him are his young son and a friend, both ready to follow him into the dark. With their flashlights cutting through the silence, they step inside. At first, it feels like any other mine exploration. Narrow tunnels, loose gravel underfoot, voices echoing in the dark. But soon, that would change. The group makes their way deeper into the mine, their flashlights sweeping across the wide tunnel. It isn't a tight squeeze. They can walk beside each other, but the air feels heavy and still. Along the way, they notice traces of its past life. Old ropes hang from the walls, rusted pieces of mining equipment lie scattered in the dirt, signs that the McCoy mine was once active, though long since abandoned. They continue forward, their voices echoing softly off the stone, but the deeper they go, the stranger it becomes. At the very end of the tunnel, where the mine suddenly cuts off into a dead end, their lights fall on something out of place. A pile. Stacked high against the back wall is a mound of shoes. Sneakers, boots, sandals, small ones, large ones, some worn and falling apart, others surprisingly modern. Dozens of them, gathered together in one disturbing heap. And scattered between the shoes are bones, pale fragments jutting out of the pile, with one long piece shaped almost exactly like a spine. The camera records their stunned silence. Then, nervous voices. Connor, his son, and his friend, each struggling to make sense of what they're seeing. After seeing the pile of shoes and bones at the end of the tunnel, the group quickly grows uneasy. They talk among themselves, unsure of what they've just found. Deciding not to stay any longer, they turn back and make their way out of the mine. The recording ends with their retreat, leaving the discovery unexplained. Not long after the trip, Connor uploaded the footage to YouTube under the title "Kids' Shoes and Bones Found in Abandoned Mine." The video spread quickly on Reddit and other social media. Viewers analyzed it frame by frame, trying to understand what the group had seen inside the McCoy mine. But Connor gave no explanation. There was nothing in the description and no follow-up on the strange discovery. As the video circulated online, people began offering their own theories. One of the most common was that the mine had been used as a dumping ground by a killer. The idea of dozens of shoes stacked together with bones mixed in seemed to fit too closely with the kind of details people had heard in true crime stories. Others thought the explanation was less sinister. Some suggested it could have been a predator's den, a place where an animal had dragged its gills over time. That might explain the bones, but it didn't account for the shoes. Another theory was flooding. The McCoy mine sits in Lander County, Nevada, an area known to have heavy seasonal rains. Some speculated that a pile of discarded shoes might have been swept into the mine by water, and that animal bones could have ended up there later. And then there was the possibility of a hoax. Some viewers pointed out how clean the bones looked, or how unlikely it would be for such a strange collection of items to go completely unnoticed until then. A few accused Connor of staging the whole thing just to create a viral video. None of these theories were ever proven. Without more information from Connor, all anyone had were guesses. After uploading the mine video, Connor continued posting on his channel. Over the next months, he shared a few more explanations, but none of them mentioned the shoes or bones again. He never returned to the McCoy mine, and he never explained what the group had found that day. The videos simply remained online without context, leaving viewers to debate the mystery on their own. It's January 8th, 2005 in the northern Cape of South Africa, at the edge of Bushman's Hole, one of the deepest freshwater sinkholes on the planet. Diver David Shaw prepares for a descent that few have ever attempted. His helmet camera is recording as he drops into the dark water, beginning a dive that will take him more than 270 meters down. David Shaw was born in Australia in 1954. He built his life around aviation, becoming an airline captain. But his greatest passion, outside the cockpit, was diving. By the early 2000s, he had become one of the world's most skillful technical divers, specializing in extreme depths where only a handful of people could operate safely. The Bushman's Hole, a vast freshwater sinkhole in South Africa, became one of his ultimate tests. He began visiting the site in 2004, pushing further down each time with the goal of setting depth records and studying what the human body and equipment could endure under crushing pressure. It was during one of these dives in October of that year that Shaw saw something he could not forget. At 270 meters down, he found the remains of Dion Dreyer, a 20-year-old diver who had drowned there in 1994 while helping with a training exercise. Dion's body had never been recovered, and his parents had lived for more than a decade without the chance to bury their son. Shaw surfaced from that dive, deeply moved. He contacted the Dreyer family and promised to bring Dion home. The attempt would be one of the most dangerous recoveries ever attempted at that depth. That is why, on January 8, 2005, David Shaw prepared to try. His plan was to descend to 270 meters, secure the body of Dion Dreyer, and lift him towards the surface using a body bag and guidelines. Support divers were staged at different depths to watch over the operation. The entire dive was expected to last more than 10 hours, most of it spent decompressing on the way back up. With his equipment checked and cameras running, Shaw began his descent into the sinkhole. Shaw dropped steadily through the darker water, passing his support team one level at a time. At 20 meters, then 50, then 100. Others divers hovered in place, waiting for his return. Beyond their reach, he continued alone into the black. Minutes turned to an hour as he descended deeper than almost anyone on Earth had ever gone. The pressure grew immense, and only the glow of his helmet lamp cut through the water around him. Finally, after a long descent, he reached 270 meters. His camera shows the floor of the sinkhole, and resting there, the body of Dion Dreyer. Shaw begins the task he came for. He pulls out the recovery bag and tries to move Dion's remains, but things do not go as planned. The body was heavier than expected after years underwater. Lines and equipment started to catch and wrap around him. He works to free them, but the deeper he goes into the task, the more tangled everything becomes. His breathing quickens, the bubbles rising sharply into the darkness above. At that depth, every mistake is magnified. His movements grow slower until the camera records no more struggle. Shaw never makes it back. On the surface, Shaw's support team waited through the long hours of decompression, unaware of what had happened below. They expected him to reappear on schedule, but he never did. In the days that followed, recovery divers entered Bushman's hole to bring up equipment. But during the operation, they found something unexpected. Both bodies of David Shaw and Dion Dreyer had risen together, still entangled in the lines. 11 years after his death, Dion was finally returned to his family. But the effort to bring him back had cost David Shaw his life. The dive at Bushman's hole was meant to give the family the chance to bury their son. Instead, it became one of the most haunting tragedies in the history of deep diving. Dion Dreyer and David Shaw were brought back to the surface together, 11 years apart in death, but bound by the same place.